The purpose of this video is to assist school counselors in identifying victims or targets of bullying. The Peer Support Survey at your school gathers reports from students about possible victims of bullying. In this procedure, each student is asked to write the names of any classmates who were victims of bullying during the past month. Many studies have found that peer reports can be a reliable and valid way to identify students in need of assistance. It is one of the quickest and most direct ways to identify victims of bullying, but it is by no means completely accurate. We hope to improve the accuracy of the peer reports with our new survey procedure. Let's begin by reviewing the steps leading up to the student interviews. Step 1. When you receive the survey data listing the students nominated as victims of bullying, the first thing you will want to do is start with an alphabetical list of all students in the school. Go through the survey data and count up the number of times each student is nominated. Step 2. Sort the list of names according to the number of nominations. You will find that most students have no nominations. A large number of students have just one nomination, and increasingly smaller number of students will have more nominations. After you have interviewed these students, we will want to assess the accuracy of the student reports. In previous research, we found that as the number of nominations increases, the likelihood that a student is actually a victim of bullying rises substantially. The students nominated by their peers are possible victims of bullying. Some of them are victims of bullying, but some of them may be nominated for other reasons. Sometimes a student is nominated because he or she is a victim of bullying in the past, but the bullying has ceased. Maybe the student has still a reputation of being a victim of bullying even though the bullying is over. In other cases, a student is nominated because he or she is involved in a conflict or argument with a friend that is mistakenly perceived as bullying. Now, these cases are important to identify because these students may be in need of counseling services even if the problem is not bullying. Finally, there may be students who were nominated as a joke or prank. We are trying to improve the nomination process so that students will be less inclined to make false nominations. However, we have found that students might be nominated as a joke for several reasons. First, a group of students might decide it's a great prank to pull on a friend, or some students may decide it would be funny to nominate a popular or well-known student like the president of the student council or maybe the homecoming queen. Some students have listed classmates who are not victims but who are bullying others. While it is true that some students are both targets and perpetrators of bullying, sometimes there are students who are only involved in bullying others. Perhaps these students are listed because their classmates want to make them feel uncomfortable, or they want to bring some attention to the bullying that they've observed. Of course, a student may be a victim of bullying but not want to admit it. That is where your work is especially important. In this video, we're going to talk about the process of interviewing students. We're going to talk about some reasons why students may not want to admit that they are being bullied, and some strategies for responding to their concerns. We realize that you do not have the time to interview every student who is reported as a victim of bullying. So, we would like you to interview all students in your school who have at least 3 nominations. If there are only a few students with 3 or more nominations, go ahead and interview students with 2 nominations. We have some guidelines for interviewing students, but you should feel free to adapt these guidelines to your own style. Also, there may be students where a different approach is appropriate. We recommend that you interview students in your office and arrange the interview so that it is not apparent to other students why you are seeing this particular student. We don't want students to be embarrassed that they have been reported as a victim of bullying. You may want to start the interview by using your own approach to introducing yourself and establishing rapport with the student. At some point, you want to raise the topic of bullying. We suggest that you begin by asking the student if he or she has observed bullying at school lately. In asking this question, it may be useful to review the definition of bullying, and that it can be physical or verbal, and that it can occur directly, face-to-face, or indirectly, such as through the internet. If the student has not volunteered that he or she may be a victim of bullying, it may be appropriate to approach the topic gradually. Some students may be reluctant to use the term bullying, so it may be more effective to use whatever term the student uses, such as teasing or harassing. Using whatever language the student prefers, determine from the student's description whether the situation meets the criteria for bullying. 1. The student was injured, teased, humiliated, or hurt in some way. 2. The aggressor had greater size, power, social status, or some other advantage over the student, so that it was not a conflict between equals. 3. The situation occurred more than once or was severe. These 3 criteria are critical to distinguishing bullying from other forms of peer conflict. Remember that there are lots of different ways to bully someone: sexual harassment, hazing or initiation into a group, extortion, gang or group intimidation. If any of these behaviors also meets the 3 criteria for bullying, then it should be regarded as bullying. Bullying can take place through digital communication media. However, simply communicating an insult through email, texting, or chatting is not necessarily bullying. Any communication must meet the 3 criteria for bullying. Some students will not want to admit to being bullied. They may feel embarrassed about being bullied, or they just might not recognize that what is happening to them is bullying. When a student denies being bullied, you should diplomatically ask the student to reconsider and think back to the time of the survey. You could remind the student that as part of the survey, everyone was asked to write down the names of students who were being bullied. You can tell the student that several classmates had listed him or her as someone who was being bullied. If the student still maintains that he or she was not bullied, you might want to explore possible reasons why he or she might not want to admit being bullied. Sometimes a student does not want to admit being bullied because he or she thinks that nothing can be done about it, or not want to draw attention to the situation. There are other reasons that also may be considered. Sometimes students are embarrassed to admit that someone has bullied them, fearful the bully might retaliate, troubled that it would be snitching to admit being bullied, worried that he or she also did something wrong that might be revealed. Consider these possible reasons one at a time. If the student still denies being bullied, diplomatically ask the student why he or she thinks he or she was nominated. It may be useful to ask the student whether there was some incident or event that others regarded as bullying. Be careful not to offer the student an excuse to deny bullying, but explore whether it is possible that he or she was nominated as a victim of bullying because the bullying occurred in the past, but not in the month prior to the survey. The incident involved friendly teasing that was not bullying. The incident involved an argument between peers of equal status and so was not bullying. The student was nominated as a joke or prank. In most cases, it should be possible to determine whether the student was or was not a victim of bullying. In some cases, it might be less clear, but we want you to make your best judgment. Each case should be classified into one of 5 categories. 1. Victim of bullying. 2. Former victim of bullying. 3. Peer conflict that was not bullying. 4. Nominated as a joke or prank, including students who are bullying others but not being bullied themselves. 5. Other or could not be determined. Let me emphasize that the classification is based on your judgment, based on all sources of information available to you. If you have information from interviewing other students or perhaps teachers who have witnessed a student being bullied, then by all means, use that information in making your determination. We want the most accurate possible determination. The results from all your interviews should be recorded in a summary table that will be turned into the Safe Schools team leader for your school. This table is basically a list of each student you interviewed, how many nominations the student received, and your classification for the student. The table will also include the student's grade level and gender. You will not record the student's name on the table you turn into the Safe School team's leader, but you should keep a record of the student's name so that you can review these names the next time the peer survey is conducted. The tables from each school will be combined so that we can determine how the rate of victimization increases with more nominations. Next, we are going to show you a series of sample cases. The cases represent some of the different situations you will see in your interviews. We would like you to watch each case and then make a determination whether or not the student is a victim of bullying. If the student is not a victim of bullying, then you should classify the student in one of the other categories. After each case, you will be asked to make your classification. Your answers will be recorded so that we can determine the inter-rater reliability of this classification system. You will notice that the counselor will be using many of the techniques of motivational interviewing. We have found that motivational interviewing can be effective in dealing with students who are resistant or unwilling to talk about bullying. So in these interviews, you will hear counselors using a lot of reflective listening and empathic statements. They will avoid asking closed-ended questions that can be answered just yes or no, and instead try to ask open-ended questions. When the student is resistive and does not want to talk about something, the counselor will not necessarily confront the resistance directly. Instead, the counselor will use the technique of rolling with the resistance, which means that they will reflect back how the student feels and encourage more talking indirectly. Rolling with resistance is a good technique to use with a lot of adolescents. Next, the counselor will let the student take the lead in defining a problem or difficulty the student would like to change. The counselor should refrain from presenting a problem that someone else has identified, such as saying that the student needs to deal with a bully. Instead, the student should identify the problem. The counselor can help this process by pointing out things that the student says makes him or her feel uncomfortable. Finally, the counselor will look for change talk from the student. This means that the counselor will listen for statements by the student that imply there is something he or she wants to change. These are not changes you would like the student to make, but changes the student would like to make. At an early stage, the student may be feeling ambivalent, and you could help the student recognize that ambivalence. Being able to recognize and articulate ambivalent feelings is an important step toward change. You might help the student see that there is something he or she would like to change, but the ownership for the desire to change must come from the student. The goal is to get the student talking about wanting to change something. Then you can begin to offer help, but letting the student be the active party, making decisions about what he or she wants to change and how to do it. In this first case, the counselor does not start out asking the student directly whether he has been bullied. Instead, she talks about other students being bullied first, and then gradually asks about him being bullied. She does not necessarily use the term bully, but when the student does describe a situation that might be bullying, she is careful to check that the situation fits the definition of bullying.
The other day I was talking to a student who's being teased on the bus, and he's really upset about it. And he said actually some older students on the bus have been picking on him. And I was wondering what things are like on your bus.
They're okay, I guess.
Tell me about it.
I mean, sometimes we get loud and the bus driver tells us to quiet down, but nothing ever really big ever happens.
Well, that's good. We want to make sure that everyone in our school feels safe and not being picked on or bullied. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've talked about bullying in class.
Most students have seen bullying sometime at school.
Yeah, I guess.
And most kids have been teased or bullied at school at one time or another. And I was wondering, is that something that's ever happened to you?
I mean, maybe just a little bit.
Can you tell me more about it?
I'm not trying to be a snitch or get anybody into trouble.
Well, okay, I can understand that. We don't want to make a big deal out of something that isn't. But I would like to know a little bit more about what's happening.
I don't really want to talk about it.
It's hard to talk about things like this.
Yeah, I just don't want things to get worse.
I agree with you completely. I understand we don't want to make things worse than they already are, but it sounds like things are not going so well right now, and it would help me to understand a little bit more about what's going on.
Yeah, there's this kid in gym class.
So it's happening in gym class. Can you tell me a little bit more about what happened the last time?
It's pretty much the same thing every time. He's bigger than me, you see, and He always wants to arm wrestle me, but I never want to. He calls me a chicken and makes chicken noises, and then he even calls me gay.
And then the other kids laugh.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds really awful. You know, here this guy's bigger than you and he's putting you in this unfair situation.
He used to pick on this other kid, but now it's just me.
So he's done it to another guy and now he's doing it to you. I wonder how many other guys he's done this to. And you probably wouldn't want him doing this to one of your friends or to some other guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
So that's a big reason we want this sort of thing to stop. Once it happens to one guy, then it happens to another guy and it goes on. And we don't want kids being picked on like this in school. And we also want him to learn how to respect other people, to treat other people with respect.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's happened pretty much since the beginning of gym. I mean, I don't have gym every day, but when I do, it pretty much happens every time.
And it sounds like you've had enough and you want to put a stop to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
In this case, the student already had an idea why the counselor wanted to talk to her. However, the student was reluctant to talk. So the counselor used motivational interviewing techniques to empathize with her reluctance to talk and gradually overcome her resistance.
I think you already know why I wanted to talk to you today.
Yeah, it's about bullying.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's not a very good situation, so I'd rather not talk about it.
Oh, well, it must be really difficult if you don't even want to talk about it.
Well, it happens every day, so it's pretty hard not to think about it.
Oh my. Things that are coming up every day are really difficult. Sometimes it can help to talk about it.
Well, she's just giving me a hard time, but I never knew she could be like that.
Okay, so another girl's giving you a hard time, and that's a change from the way it used to be.
We used to be really good friends in elementary school, but now, I mean, she's different, and we just don't get along anymore.
What's changed?
Well, now she's completely concerned about what she's wearing and how she's dressed. And she doesn't like the way I dress, and she makes fun of me.
Where's this happening?
Mostly on the bus. When she gets on the bus, she'll look at what I'm wearing, and she'll say she's doing a fashion review. Like, she pretends she's on that show, Top Model. And she always tells me that I'm going to get kicked out of the running.
Oh, well then what happens?
Well, I put up with it for quite a while, but 2 weeks ago we had a big argument about it on the bus, and a lot of girls heard it, and now everybody's talking about it at school.
Did the other girls take sides?
Some of the girls took her side, and some of them were kind of on my side. But we don't even like sit near each other anymore, and we have different friends now. So.
Did you feel like you were able to stand up to her, or was it more one-sided than that?
No, I definitely stood up to her. But I mean, we're just not friends anymore, so it's really sad.
Yeah. It sounds like you wish things could be better between the two of you.
Yeah, she was a really good friend of mine, so.
Well, this sounds like a problem. She used to be your good friend, now you've had this argument and things have changed. I wonder if you've thought about whether you could change things.
Among younger students, a lot of bullying takes place on playgrounds. Notice how the counselor patiently asks for specific details about what took place.
So you're telling me guys were going after you on the playground?
Yeah, we'd be playing dodgeball and they sort of turned it into bomb us out. Even when they got us out with the ball, they kept on throwing it at us. Sometimes they'd even tackle us.
So this is outside of the rules of the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were playing dodgeball, especially the tackling.
What did you do when this happened?
They're bigger than us and, well, they outnumber me and Jimmy. It's not really much we could do. It's not like we know karate.
You told them to stop?
Yeah, but it didn't do anything. They just laughed at us.
When was the last time this happened?
Well, we haven't been going outside anymore, but at the beginning of the year for about 2 weeks.
It hasn't happened in the last month?
Longer than that.
Have they been picking on you in any other way?
No, they're not in any of my classes, but Jimmy sees them. Some of them ride his bus.
What's Jimmy's last name?
Social bullying is a common concern, especially among girls. Notice that even though the student says she is not being bullied, the counselor reviews the situation carefully so that she can make her own determination.
June, you're in Miss Jenkins' class, aren't you?
Yes, first period.
Has she been holding the classroom meetings about bullying?
Oh yeah, we had one a few days ago.
Well, that's good because that's a big goal in the school this year, to make certain that everybody's safe and no one's being bullied.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the program about bullying?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. You know, bullying among girls can be really different than bullying among boys, and I'm wondering what you've seen with bullying among the girls. June? It seems like something might be bothering you when I ask you about bullying among the girls.
Well, just a little bit.
Well, tell me about that.
It's nothing, really.
Well, bullying can be very hard to talk about.
It's not really bullying.
So something's bothering you, but it's not really bullying, it's something else.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell me how things are going with the other girls that you hang out with.
Does this have to do with the survey we took last week?
Yes, it does. We're giving the survey so that we can make certain that everybody in the school feels safe. And there are some students that are concerned about you and that are afraid that you're being bullied.
I'm not being bullied.
Okay. Well, it does seem like something's bothering you. Maybe whatever is bothering you was bothering some of the other girls too, and that's why it went into the survey.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what's bothering you.
Well, it's just something that goes around about me that's not true.
Oh, well, tell me about that.
This girl started a rumor that I was pregnant, and she sent a text to one of her friends, and that friend sent it to someone else. And then a bunch of girls found out about it, and one of them asked me about it on my Facebook page, and now a whole bunch of people know.
Why in the world would this girl have started a rumor like that? You must have been shocked.
We had a sleepover where we played a game and you told your secret wish. Well, I said that I wanted to have a baby, but not right now, like later when I get married.
Well, that's perfectly understandable. Lots of girls think about having a baby, but I'm still not understanding why she'd start a rumor like that about you.
She's mad at me.
Oh, why is she mad at you?
She thinks I stole her boyfriend. You see, Jason used to like her, but now he likes me. But I didn't have anything to do with it. He just started liking me, and now she's mad at me. And all her friends are turning against me. They're making up more rumors.
Oh, like what?
You know, the obvious, like, I'm gonna have Jason's baby, stuff like that, and we're gonna run off and get married.
Well, that must be very upsetting.
I can't get them to stop.
You feel pretty helpless that you can't stop the rumors about you.
I feel there's new ones every day.
Well, I'm glad you told me about this because I can see how awful it must be making you feel. You must be trying to think about how you can stop all this.
I wanted to stop, but if I say anything, they just laugh.
Well, maybe I can help.
In this interview, you will see how the counselor tries to turn a frustrating situation into a learning opportunity. Any effort to teach students the importance of recognizing bullying can be valuable.
Yeah, I've seen some bullying around school. I guess everybody has, but that doesn't mean it's happened to me.
You're right, but a lot of kids feel like there's a lot of bullying going on, and there's a great concern among staff.
Is that why you call me into your office? You think someone's been bullying me?
I don't know whether or not you've been bullied, but a lot of your classmates think so.
How do you know that?
Well, you remember the survey we took a few weeks ago where you had to write down the names of classmates who have been bullied?
Oh gosh, that's just a joke. I guess some of my friends thought it'd be real funny to write my name down. I didn't believe them when they said they did it, but I guess they actually did.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but you know, sometimes a guy really doesn't want adults to know that they're being bullied or being teased or picked on by their classmates.
Yeah, I know, but honestly, I'm not being bullied.
You don't think you know who did this? Who wrote your name down?
I mean, I do, but I don't want to get anybody into trouble.
Okay, I understand that, but not wanting to get your friends in any trouble. But one thing I would like for you to do is to explain to your classmates why it's not a good idea to write the names down of students who are not being bullied, because then I'd have to spend a lot of time tracking those students down when I really need to focus on those students who are actually really being bullied.
I don't know why anybody wrote down my name. The survey was dumb anyway.
So the survey seems dumb to you, and it doesn't make sense to you that anybody wrote down your name.
That's right. It must be a joke or somebody trying to get me in trouble for no reason.
Are there guys who would have written down your name as a joke?
If they did, they didn't tell me about it.
Okay, well maybe sometimes guys are getting picked on, and they don't want anyone to know about it. Maybe it's embarrassing.
Nah, that ain't me. No one picks on me.
Sometimes people have been in an argument or fight, and other people think it's bullying.
I haven't been in any fights, at least not during school.
Well, sometimes people are involved in situations and they're afraid that if adults get involved, they may get in trouble in some way.
I'm okay. There's nothing really.
Well, maybe some people think it's snitching, when in actuality it's not snitching.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't have anything to snitch about.
Okay, well, sometimes people may be mad at you and they write down your name to get you in some kind of trouble.
Maybe someone doesn't like what I said, but I don't know who it would be.
Okay, I think that's about all for now, but I want to make sure everything's all right. So I want you to think about this a little bit and then come back and tell me if something comes up.
In this interview, notice how the counselor uses reflective listening and empathy to gradually help the student talk about what is happening to her.
I don't know why you wanted to talk to me today. Did I do something wrong?
No, you didn't do anything wrong. I just wanted to check in with you and see how you're doing.
Well, my grades could be better if that's what you mean.
Well, do you remember the survey that the students took about bullying a few weeks ago?
Sure, I remember it.
So you probably remember that the survey was to give students a chance to tell us if anyone was being teased or picked on?
Yeah, I remember.
Well, I think some of your friends are concerned about you because several of them wrote your name down.
Why would they do that?
Well, I don't know, but it may mean that they think something is going on and maybe I can help with that.
I'm not being bullied by anybody.
Well, bullying can be many different things. Is anyone giving you a hard time, teasing you, or spreading rumors about you?
Me and Jenna, sometimes we go at it, but it's no big deal.
Well, tell me more about that.
Jenna and I, we're cool, but sometimes we just like to mix it up. She'll say something funny about me, I'll hit her right back with something funny about her. We do it a lot at lunchtime. I'll tell her she's gonna get fat from eating all those French fries. She'll tell me that my hair's gonna fall out because I comb it too much. Stuff like that.
Okay. Does Jenna hurt your feelings when she says things like that?
No, it's just having fun.
Okay. And do the other girls get involved in it?
Well, they listen, but it's between me and Jenna. It's kind of like our show. It's a talk show, you know, like on TV.
Well, I wonder if the other girls think it's more serious.
Maybe, but that's just the way we are.